So welcome, Suzanne, and welcome, Catherine. Really wonderful to have you here, and thank you again for coming on board with the Mentorability Initiative. I would love if both of you would take some time to introduce yourselves, your title, and about your organization and how.
Great. All right. I am Suzanne Braun. I started my career over 30 years ago as a designer, and in 1998, approximately 26 years ago, I founded Relish as a design boutique and worked on lots of different design projects. Book design was one of them. So over the years, the agency has grown, and we're now an agency of 29. And we've become what's called a full service marketing agency. So we do everything from apps to video to communications and everything in between. And today, I'm much less of a designer, more of a managing director, although I wear many hats and do many other things, even pour coffee. And I'm one of four principals that manage the agency. So our offices are located in Calgary and Winnipeg, and we work in sort of a mix of ways. Some people work at the office, some people work at home. We kind of coexist in both a virtual and physical format. And we have a really diverse team. So several of our team are actually like newcomers to Canada, and they come from all parts of the globe. We have people from the Ukraine, from Chile, from Mexico, you name it, India. It's quite fun. One big part of our company is our culture. So in 2017, we became what's called a B Corporation. And so what a B Corporation is a special certification that shows that our business in particular is doing always good for people and for the planet. It essentially means that our business follows strict rules to be honest, open, and responsible. So our agency and our culture is one that believes that businesses should help people make the world a better place. So we measure how we impact the environment and on our impact on the community. And so we get checked every 3 years to earn the certification. So being a B Corp to us means a way of giving back and sharing some of our profits and time to support the community. And mentorship is a big part of that.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Catherine, would you like to introduce yourself?
For sure. My name is Katherine Westwood. Um, I started with Relish and in this industry 11 years ago as an intern. I took the Red River Digital Media Design program and I had my internship at Relish, and then I was hired as a junior developer. I kind of just increased my skill set over time. And now I am the director of product development. So I am one of the four principals at Relish. So in that role, I'm working on special projects like digital museums and language applications. I do still love to code, but now I'm more so in the managing and mentoring role and working on proposals and working more closely with Suzanne.
That's wonderful. Congratulations as well.
Thank you.
Uh, our next little one, or next question, is to ask you a little bit about the industry, about the marketing and design industry, especially with a B Corp lens.
Mhm. Hey, I'll jump in first. Our industry's really become quite a growth industry. There's many opportunities. Always felt a little scared with AI coming in, but it still looks like there's a lot of growth to be had in particular communications and being able to use these tools. It's transformative, but we still need creative thinkers to make those tools work. The workplaces that you would experience are also different shapes and sizes. So in our industry, you can function as a freelancer working at home. There's also agency and boutiques like ours of different shapes and also different sizes. So those could be, 3 to 30 or 40 people. But you can also work in-house for businesses and corporations. So with a freelancer or an agency and boutique like ours, you'll deal with like diverse topics and subject matters, different types of businesses and clients. So there's a lot of opportunity to be exposed to different industries and different types of work. if you work at a like more of a business or corporation, you tend to be more of a like uh, you're working kind of in one sort of topic or domain, but still, getting, some experience in different ways. Both are really valuable. I think the difference is like, if you like unpredictability, the diverse work of an agency, boutique, or freelance would be a good choice. A corporation would be a little bit more stable, Mabel, like you kind of know what you're dealing with when you go in from day to day. So like I think since COVID, our industry's really changed too. There's been a strong movement towards like hybrid working or at home working, 100%. We're seeing a lot more hybrid than 100% workplace, but there's still lots of opportunities there. And so it's actually changed too, where there's a lot of opportunity to work in different geographic areas as well. So you don't have to be physically present. So that's one of the things that we've really seen. Katherine?
For sure. And it's an industry that's always changing and evolving. So it kind of requires the people that get involved with it to have continual learning and curiosity. I find that I always have to research and increase my skill set, like on a basically a daily level. I'm always researching and reading up things to stay up to date. Suzanne mentioned that she was worried about some disruptions due to AI. And on our end in the web development team, we were kind of worried about that too, but we kind of actually have ended up embracing some AI generative tools. We actually throw some ideas into AI to help us kind of streamline our process, and it cuts down on some of that troubleshooting time. So that's been very helpful for us. And it just allows us to use new tools and learn to embrace and integrate them in the work that we're doing. So it's a very exciting time to get involved with the industry.
That's wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for speaking to the AI piece too, and like using it as that tool to be able to allow you to do other things too. Um, the next question is, what positions do you hire for, and what do those positions consist of? So, for instance, possibilities of entry-level jobs, as well as the different areas with marketing and design. Because as you were saying, Katherine, coming from a development background as well, people may not realize that that's also part of marketing and design.
Yeah. So I'll speak to sort of my side. I'll let Katherine speak to the development part. But in an agency of our size, there's actually a lot of different roles. We have copywriters that write the words for ads, like websites and campaigns. There's a lot of demand for like content out there. Even with AI, we still need thinkers that can craft that material. And if, like I said, if you're a creative thinker, you can generate a lot of really fantastic content with a really good imagination. We have social media managers that handle like posts and interactions on social platforms. They do a lot of content curation as well. We have marketing communication professionals, so they'll create strategies. They work a lot directly with clients, so it's like more strategic roles in planning. Those are generally not so much entry level, but as you sort of evolve, you become more a part of that strategizing piece, and it's eventually something that you can elevate to. We have videographers and motion graphic experts, which is also like huge, like even consuming content online. All of you probably are aware that video is top. So we're definitely growing in that area, and there's just like more demand for it every day. We have office managers, project managers, production managers that help keep everything organized and running smoothly. Those are so essential because there's so many parts to so many projects. They are kind of the glue that sticks everything together. We have our graphic designers that create the visuals. They do like logos and ads and layouts and things like that. And then we have like UX designers as well. So they'll design web layouts. But we also do things like user testing, sort of analysis of like websites and how we can make them function better. And then there's a huge accessibility piece in there as well. So making websites accessible.
Yeah, we also hire front end and back end developers, and There's the coding aspects to that and being aware of content management systems like WordPress, Shopify, Squarespace. But then there's also the marketing aspects for all of that code and those content management systems, making sure that those websites will turn up in search engines properly, that the data can be then like shared properly on social media websites, making sure that it all is presentational. So that's part of both front end and back end development. Then we also hire for application developers that are working on a more higher level coding basis, like with understanding UX, so like user interface design and interactions, and with specific types of programming like React.js. But there's lots of crossover between these positions. And like with me, I started as a junior developer, and then you kind of just build your skill set over time.
Yeah, that's an interesting point that Catherine's made too. Like, I think we have a lot of people in our office that are kind of like Swiss Army knives, we call
Yeah.
them. So, just like multidisciplinary, and a lot of it you may not have gone to school for, but you acquire it. And then we also do a lot of upskilling, so learning different things and applying them. Like I went to school for just graphic design, but I've taken like product design, UX design. Like there's just a lot of possibilities to just sort of expand your skill. And it's one of the things that I enjoy people that I work with is just that they're always like adding some skills onto their tool set. So
That's amazing. Yeah, just the diversity of all the different positions there. And then my next question is like the typical day to day, which is going to be very different for everyone depending on their role, but then also how does the organization bring everyone together? What is that interaction like?
I can speak to that. So like in our agency, there's always a lot going on. So you can plan, but you've got to remain flexible because sometimes like as an agency as a whole, we're working on more than 100 projects at once. So we always try and keep that team aspect first and foremost. That's the priority. Always keep your team up to date with what's going on. We work together. We try and be agile as a way that helps teams, like our teams, get things done faster and better. It's always good to like keep in touch with your coworkers, keep in touch with your manager, ask questions, let people know how your progress is doing, be transparent. So instead of planning for everything at once and planning ahead, we work in smaller steps, check in on each other's progress very often, then make changes as needed. And then this way we can deliver those great results quickly and again, just keep improving along the way. Um, so we do have like a remote work schedule, but we do also have a physical office location. So we have some people that are in the physical office and then some people that are online. And then we use collaboration tools so that we can connect and meet and help each other troubleshoot as needed. So we'll chat online using Slack, and then we'll meet in virtual meetings using Zoom. Um, but it's always very active and very busy. You never get bored, that's for sure, depending on like the size of the projects or even just the quantity of them. But by comparison, if you're working in like a corporation, you're pretty much working in the same kind of scope of things for a long range of time. Whereas I could be working on an application this week and I could be doing purely web support next week. So my workload would always vary. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm curious too um, with accessibility and inclusion in the workplace. We can get to that a little bit later. It sounds like you are very flexible and really responsive to the needs of everyone as well. Um, what do you look for in candidates?
mm, yeah, so I think like creativity and like we look at how people think. So sort of we look for like evidence of that. Um, it's not even like the resume is kind of a secondary, to be honest. We like people that think out of this box and can bring new ideas. Like we kind of live off that no idea is a bad idea kind of philosophy. Sometimes the baddest ideas, and I come up with a lot of them every day, read the actual solution. So we look for people that are like to contribute, like that want to help evolve projects that aren't afraid to try. Like we sort of have a diversity of thought where we believe that the best idea or the best solution comes from multiple ideas coming together. So in our environment, you really have to be able to feel free to think and be creative and take, like, it's not even criticism, but be able to sort of like throw stuff at the wall with us and see where we go, and also be experimental. So one way we can do that is through the portfolio, and just also sort of understanding who the person is and how they think. And again, yeah, a portfolio like can be stuff that's created in school, freelance projects, previous employment, but it can also be personal projects. We get a lot of like fresh out of school, or like even young people that are in school that come up with the coolest stuff and experiment on them. But even in our office, like I know Katherine has done some personal projects herself and evolved those, some creative outlets. So we like to see stuff like that.
I can take that a little further, because we also like to see people that are flexible and adaptable, like how I mentioned you can't plan every day perfectly, because you never gonna know like when someone's gonna call with an emergency. Because I personally like to plan my day, but I've started kind of planning my day in like blocks of time that I'll dedicate to kind of a broader thing instead of narrowing it down very, very specifically, because I need to be able to adapt. So we'd like someone who can adapt as well, because your day is gonna have to adjust on a regular basis. And we also like people that are curious, because problem solving and independent thinking is just a huge part of coding and with marketing, because the internet and everything is always ever changing. There's always going to be new problems because people are always developing new code. You have to be able to learn and research in order to keep up with that. And I say we love people who ask questions, but I personally love people who ask questions, especially ask me questions, because like we're a team, and I want to really, really reinforce that transparency. And especially since we have staff that their first language is not English, I want to make sure that they're being supported, and that we're removing those barriers to make sure that they're getting all of the supports and help and resources that they need to get their tasks done, to feel competent.
That's wonderful. That's really great to hear, and how that's really a sought after skill set and attitudes as well. I'm curious, I heard when you said that you don't really look at the resume, but it's much more about the person and the portfolio, or the work, and the thinking process. I'm curious how Relish views the portfolio, what you look for in a portfolio, and how to stand out using that method.
Yeah. Insider scoop, the resume is so secondary that when I was hired, they never even saw mine. Portfolio is what matters the most. So whether it's like a web design, copy, or social, like if your work is presented professionally enough, we're going to be able to pick on that. And that's because we are designers, we are marketers, we are coders. This is what we do all day, every day for years. We're going to see your personality in that. It's kind of weird to describe, but we can definitely pick up on an individual's like interests and personality from the things that they're putting in their portfolio, and as well as their skill set.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. Like, again, I think we can reiterate again, it's the portfolio. Like you can use tools like Beyonce, or even build your own little website within that to sort of present your work or curate your work, but also like to tell us a bit about who you are and what you're interested in, because it's not just about work, right? I think work is a bit about culture, and we like to see and work with people that fit in. And like when I say that too, we're not an office of extroverts by any stretch. It's just we also look for complementary skills. So if someone's not so great at this and this person's good at that, then it's a good piece to put together into the puzzle. So the more you can kind of tell us about you, even just what you're interested in doing, because to Catherine's note, it's continual learning. If we see someone that comes in with some vigor and energy to like attack something new, we get really excited about that. So yeah, just like we love that curiosity and people that want to experiment and explore. Like we always learn from each other. We want to bring people in that will like we get to learn from.
Mm.
Um, and that's, yeah, because it's you can't take all that education. So we call it sucking off other people's brains. So yeah, that's what I would suggest is just, yeah, presenting that, but just not only like the work. The other thing is it also is helpful to communicate, yeah, either written or verbally. It doesn't have to be like one or the other. It can be, or sorry, it can be one or the other, sort of how you reached a solution, especially with like AI tools, just that understanding about how you think. So, you know, there's an approach that you took and why. We will ask those questions just to understand, like, you know, how like what made you think of the logo this way? Like, why did you approach it this way, or why did you code it this way? So, um, that would be how we approach hiring. So.
Okay. I have a I've heard a couple different opinions on portfolios and what people are looking for as an employer. I was curious in terms of like how much storytelling through there. I've heard that, having it quite detailed in terms of not like a book necessarily, but almost so it's that step by step. And I've also heard that, putting it more like a trailer or a teaser, so that it's inviting people to ask more questions. I'm curious from Relish's lens
Mhm.
where that line lies for what you're looking for.
Well, I'll let Catherine comment. I know, like, from a design and communication standpoint, I don't know if a teaser would do it. I think I'd want more intelligence first.
Mm.
Quite frankly, I just don't know if we would have the time. And like, yeah, I think even in marketing, it's a bit risky like a trailer is great, but I think you need to kind of support it with some substance, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Catherine, what about you?
Yeah, for applicants to the web team, when I say portfolio, I would mean like an online website, even if it was just like a subdomain part of some other program or on Behance or on Instagram. I would mean something representative of that to show your skill set. I would prefer like a personal site so that I can see how that was set up custom by that individual. But of course, not everybody has that skill set right out the gate. Um, but for video, yeah, code doesn't lend to video very well for trailers, unfortunately.
That'd be
Yeah.
interesting, almost like one of those Star Wars ones with like just
Yeah,
code running up.
the code running across the screen, make it trail down like the Matrix
Um,
stack. Yeah,
That would be
I think,
interesting.
yeah, I think to that note, it would depend on the position too. Like if we were,
true.
I mean, a lot of our roles, like you're not necessarily, especially out of the gate working with clients, like we're not, you know what I mean? I actually think that we have a lot of introverts in our office, and I can't see any of them like doing that, to be honest. And I would hate to like lose somebody on Hello because they didn't put the trailer forward. But you know, a social media position might make sense. So the creativity is great, do that, but you know, we'd also want to see some substance to like, yeah, yeah,
Awesome.
to
Thank you.
package with that. Yeah.
Yeah, really the thinking, like making thinking visible
Mhm.
to get to know someone. Um, the next question is how to shine and highlight abilities and not barriers.
Hmm. I think again, like it kind of comes to what we're talking about. The portfolio again. Um, yeah, just highlighting your abilities kind of comes through in your work and your passions and like your energy and like what your interests are. Like that's how like I don't I would say that to us, it's like a visual and a thinking process, like it's not a physical thing. So, yeah.
Catherine, do you have any insights in terms of for applicants to really highlighting abilities versus, the barrier piece?
Um, would that be like that's in an interview format, I'm guessing, or like in a portfolio, or both?
Maybe both. Yeah, that'd be interesting
Both.
to kind of even
Okay.
go into to the interview process.
Oh, okay. So for a portfolio, add personality to it. Add something uniquely you to it. Put your bio in there. Talk about your interests. Make yourself human. And then for your interview, like you get the standard interview questions. They want to ask you, like you get asked, one for me that I always reflect on is being asked, like, what are my worst qualities? Is a terrible interview question, by the way, but it's still asked. So I take my negative qualities and I turn them into a positive. Like, I know I'm a stubborn person, but I also know that I'm stubborn enough to sit here and solve this.
That's a great one. I'm going to use that. Um, Now, I'm curious too, for our next question is steps people can take to get into the industry. I mean, this is very broad in terms of all the different positions that we've
Yeah.
talked about. Um, but if someone's, has the skills or is pivoting or trying to break into it, what suggestions do you have around that?
Um, yeah, there's so many choices now. It's amazing. So like SAIT, NAIT, like Bow College, U of C, they all offer like amazing programs. A lot of them even have hybrid programs, like SAIT's programs are all hybrid now, and you can kind of extend them as long as you need to, which is really cool. They're really adapting those to like sort of real life scenarios where, we have kids or like, there's other sort of situational issues that occur in people's life. So they're trying to remove those barriers as well. A lot of them offer like info sessions. I think they're usually like in February, a couple times a year anyway. Those are really valuable to attend, but they also offer online orientations. And then there's also like a million sort of online courses that you can take as well, which are like, there's a ton. Um, I would always look for like if I was exploring those type of programs that were like certificate or diploma or degree oriented. I would look for ones that offer like mentorship and employment placements. Like there's some you can spend so much money on, it's ridiculous. And others that are a little cheaper. But I think where the benefit comes in is what really makes or breaks you is that mentorship piece and having somebody provide creative and art direction to you, like beyond the school setting. And the employment places give you that real life experience and also helps connect you to the industry, and could potentially get you a job at the end. So I would set like really, really look at those. Or programs that let you work on real life projects like Inception U would be one. I mean, it's a little pricier, but you do get that benefit of actually coming out with something exceptional at the end. Um, there are a lot of great associations that you can explore from the design side. Registered Graphic Designers of Canada, they have mentorship programs for students. Like, so if you're not finding it in a program or workplace, you can go to like associations like that, national or regional, that will help you grow and learn there. So yeah, like mentorship is big. And just trying to connect with people, opportunities, and learn from people that are in the industry. And some businesses will even, allow you to come in and watch them. But I can't say that our office is that exciting. Like you'd probably fall asleep most days, to be honest. It's a lot of people at computers, but it's still good to talk to people and see what's happening, what the job's all about before you commit to it. But there's obviously a lot of ways that you can do that. How about for you, Catherine?
On the website of things, well, to be biased, there's the Red River College 2-year digital media design program, because that's where I went. That's what I did to break into this industry, and that's the industry that's the internship that got me started at Relish. But then there's also a ton of online free coding coding programs that I've also kind of explored, some years ago and some that I'm kind of brushing up again on more recently, just, test my memory. Like Code Academy is a free online resource. It has individual coding courses as well as like career track programs that will help you get specific skill sets towards specific positions. WordPress.org has free online coding courses about developing specifically in their content management system using different um, tracks as well. So you could do theme development, plugin development, you can do front-end styling, things like that. They have a bunch of different courses for that. One of my favorite blogs is actually CSS Tricks, and it's just articles about working with code in different ways. And they have a lot of troubleshooting tips on there. It comes up for me constantly when I am troubleshooting and I'm trying to find solutions for issues. That one comes up a lot. If you're looking for something that's way more entry level and kind of like an informal internship, if you check on like a meetup.com or on any of those local event platforms, you might be able to find a coding club or WordPress Hangout, and those people can help you get like the preliminary interests, and they could meet with you and help you with your coding getting along. Like I've gone to some WordPress Hangouts and to some coding clubs here in Winnipeg. I don't think they've started up again since the pandemic. I'll have to check. YouTube has so many guided tutorials, not just put out by like the corporations and developers that have made these programs, but also by individuals who do troubleshooting and will teach you how to do troubleshooting and how to resolve online issues. Sometimes they're even offered in different languages, so you can get them in the format that you need to absorb that information. Newsletters, subscribe to newsletters. I'm subscribed to so many newsletters. I get like 60 emails a day for plugins and hosting platforms so that I can get all of the information about what's going to be coming out for these things so I can stay informed to those changes. Staying informed in this industry is very, very important. There's also boot camps. You could try a game jam or coding jam, try and build something in a week or a weekend to challenge yourself. And most importantly, keep your portfolio up to date.
Yeah, on that note too, we all to that, I'll stack that. We also use Skillshare a lot.
Yeah.
If you have just a little bit of money and you want to try out, they have like great courses, like you can learn Illustrator and like and the little tips and tricks, and what you buy is a cheap, like modest subscription, and you can really kind of indulge and see kind of what sticks and what you enjoy. And every topic under the sun is there. If you get bored of like design, you can or coding, you can learn to bake bread, I think.
Yeah.
You have options.
Make your own sourdough starter.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So just coming to the end of that, we're going to open it up for questions. There's some here in the chat that I can get to as well. I wanted to open up the floor too, if anyone would like to, raise their hand and would like to ask their questions live. We can start with that and then go to the questions in the chat. And I was a teacher, so I oh, look at that. We didn't even have to wait that long. All right, Aleem, please.
Yes, hi, nice to meet you. I'm one of the job developers for one of the associations as well. Very good to meet you. I have a couple questions. So first question is, we've had some individuals that we help support finding employment, and they have experience, like they have the background in the media or the digital content, but they don't have that experience. So either they're outdated experience or they don't have experience at all. So are we able to connect with you then and just kind of talk to you about that individual, or how would you recommend going about doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like we could always like look at the person's work experience. We do have a connection with a nonprofit in Manitoba called Level It Up, which places neurodivergent people in employment situations, and they have like amazing skill sets. That's the interesting thing about like coding is, a lot of great coders don't necessarily graduate. So, you know, we could look at that on kind of a case by case basis and maybe, you know, make some suggestions on how they could build a
Perfect.
portfolio up or get up to date. Yeah, it wouldn't be, and we also get a lot of like newcomers that, you know, don't have that Canadian experience as well. So we're kind of faced with that quite often, actually. So
Yes.
yeah,
I'm
sure.
so sorry. You said you're in Manitoba, so do you have an office in Edmonton?
Yeah, we're in Calgary and in Manitoba. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Is there a contact information that you're willing to give us later on?
Sorry, what was that?
Is there a contact, like, is there a contact information
Oh,
that
contact
you'd,
information. Yes,
yes.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can
Um,
send it out with the thank you email with the feedback survey, and then
thank you.
link to the recorded session as well for
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you.
Great question, Elaine. Thank you. I'm going to wait to see if anyone else has a question. Oh, we've got a hand up here.
Sorry, I can't find where the little hand thing is in Zoom. I haven't used it for so long. I've been stuck in Teams, hating it for a long time. So I don't know whether you are. They've updated Zoom, so it looks good now. But sorry, I'm Stuart. Nice to meet you. I've got two questions. The first one is in terms of neurodivergence or hiring people with neurodivergence. Do you prefer, as an employer, that they declare that upfront? How do you view that? I've heard very mixed things about it, so I thought I'd ask.
I personally don't, it doesn't bother me either way, so I don't have a preference, Catherine.
I don't really have a preference. Like
Yeah.
for myself, because I live with like a chronic illness, I try and be transparent about that because it might affect my ability to come into the office. So I think that that individual can have that assessment for themselves,
Mhm. And
whether or not they want to divulge that.
yeah, and we haven't had neurodivergent people in our office. I mean, it's kind of in our industry, like it's sort of a natural, a natural. So, I mean, for us, it's just all good. I think the level is the comfort and there has to be some understanding of where someone's comfortable working in and what type of role. And, you know, at some point, you know, if there's certain considerations that we would need to make, if we can make those for them.
Gotcha. Okay, no, that's great. Yeah, I've heard very mixed things, and I think it also comes back to, like you alluded to there, Catherine, with if it's going to impact you on a daily basis, or a couple times a week or something like that. But yeah, thank you. That
Yeah,
clears things up there.
I think it comes more so to the individual who is facing that issue, being able to assess for themselves how it's going to affect them in the workplace and being transparent about that aspect.
Yeah. Cool. And the second question I had was, how often do you hire? And do you post it on your website? Do you post it through recruitment services, or how do you kind of approach that?
Gosh, I don't, we maybe hire once or twice a year. It kind of depends. It's kind of been weird after COVID, and then because the industry's kind of changing and like right now there's a huge demand for videos. So we're, you know what I mean? Like it's just the types of positions change. We prefer not to advertise. So if we have connected with somebody or have mentored them and gotten to know them, that's usually like our first line. Like Katherine isn't a great example of that. We've hired many people that we've mentored or have come to us on like work experience. So we do appreciate that. And or if even if people like come in and we make a personal connection with them, it's usually a much better than posting on Indeed.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart, and thank you, Suzanne and Catherine. I wanted to ask a question related to what we were just talking about in terms of, disclosure and inclusion and accessibility. How does Relish create an environment for inclusion, is part of it, my question. And another part too is if I'm someone that does have specific needs, uh, how does Relish approach that in terms of being a supported employment person? So a lot of that fear with the disclosures, saying like I have this, and then that's going to impede my possibilities of being hired. How does Relish work with
Mhm.
those parameters?
Um, Gosh, that there's such a range. So, we have we have a like a lactation policy, we have a transgender policy. Catherine's set up a smudge station in our office, and that's written into our policies now. So we've had like one of the things with like uh, having like newcomers, not first language, we have used like Slack tools so that we weren't relying on verbal communication because the written seems to be much easier. So that's what we would do in that case. Also just understanding like cultural things like for females being left with males or being scared of dogs because we can't have dogs in the office on certain days. Like we've learned a lot of different things. So those are nuances there. So we try to educate and learn and try to adapt where we can. We have one staff member that has fibromyalgia who works at home full time. She does not come into the office. In Catherine's case as well, we just have an understanding that there are good days and bad days and whatnot. Yeah, Catherine, could you add to that?
No, I think you covered it all. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, like it's just sort of understanding what the person needs. I mean, in some cases we have an open office, so we've kind of like we'll try to eliminate some of the physical barriers, or if someone needs a quiet space, it's a little bit harder in our workspace, so we would have to look at, more of an online hybrid environment. But yeah, it's just there's so many different conditions like that exist. I think we've had quite a few of them, so it's just, yeah, understanding and adapting as best we can.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, diversity and inclusion. The question that's come up in the chat here is around the portfolios again. Um, really looking at it maybe from the flipped side, and what discourages you most about portfolios when you see them. I know that we've touched on things like having a trailer, not really getting into the thought process there. But if there's things that would turn you off right away before you even kind of dive into that, um, as
Hmm.
uh, you know, someone who's entering the industry could to learn from you.
Yeah, that's a good question. I love that question. Actually, it's hard. From a design standpoint, um, like student work is hard because typically you get similar assignments and then students tend to kind of glob on each other. So things that are maybe like too trendy, or, you're kind of globbing on a trend and there's nothing sort of unique or sort of interesting in your approach versus somebody else. I think too, like people that don't really understand what they're designing, like design is not just making things pretty, it's actually designing with purpose.
Mhm.
Um, so being able to sort of comprehend and read the content or understand the subject matter and being able to communicate that, you can really see that in one designer to another. So it's a difference between like a pixel pusher who can understand software versus someone that really wants to do the craft and do something meaningful. And I could say that would extend into like copywriting and social media, where you can really see the difference between like, something that's come out of Chat GPT versus something that you really like thought about. So yeah, and we're seeing that more and more. And even just in copywriting, Chat GPT will put certain types of language in, and I can read that in 5 minutes and tell you that Chat GPT wrote that, and that's not going to get you a job. In fact, it will not get you a job. So yeah.
Yeah. I'd also like to add projects that all use the same handful of skill sets and don't show any like expansion of skill sets. Like if you're using the same skills for every project you're working on, you're not showing growth.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you. Really appreciate those. Um, I'm going to open up the floor again to see if we've got about 8 minutes left, and I'm just wondering if there's anyone else here that has a question that they would like to ask. Sarah, please go ahead.
Not really a question, but just a comment. I've really enjoyed learning about Relish today and just hearing about your human first approach. It's kind of stripping things back to the basics and getting to know people for who they are, what they bring to collaboration processes. And it's been really cool to hear all of your successes. So thank you for sharing today.
Sure.
If no one else has a question, I would love to ask each of you, what do you love about your jobs? And why do you wake up every morning wanting to do it again?
Oh, I'm going first. What do I love about my job? Coding. I love learning. I've always thought of coding as like my own interactive puzzle. I get all these different pieces and I have to put it together and make it work and tell the story. And I love that. And I don't know if it's going to work on the first try or the 30th try, but I am just here for the journey and I love figuring it out. I get up every day for code. Even on days when I don't get to code and I sit in meetings all day, it's still worth it in the end because coding is what got me here.
That's awesome. Thank you.
I love my job that there's a few things. I love learning and learning new things all the time. And if I don't, I get really bored and that makes me very dangerous. So, yeah, I like to stay busy and learn different things. And it's not just the topics, it's the clients. We work with so many people in so many different industries that do really cool things. And I feel like I am blessed to get this opportunity to get a piece of their knowledge. And also just like the people that I work with that are pushing boundaries and thinking differently and aren't afraid to throw out some strange ideas or do something cool. Yeah, that is the best part of my job. I don't know of another job where you can really do that. So that's why I do it.
That's wonderful. Give space for any other questions or comments. I've got one other one. You talked about mentorship and how mentorship's really important at Relish. I was wondering if you could talk about that just a little bit, as well as if someone's looking for a mentor, what would you suggest for how they could go about that?
Katherine, do you want to take that one?
I will take that one. When I started at Relish, I was being mentored basically on the job by James, by one of the other partners, James Black, because he, he saw potential in me. Look where I am now. Maybe he was right. And that it kind of never really stopped. It started with small things at once, just little sessions where he would show me a little bit of code and I'd try and replicate it on my own. And then they became longer, regular sessions. And like even during the pandemic, we were meeting like weekly for an hour to do plugin development together. And he was teaching me how to do that. That's something I don't even know where to go to learn, actually. So that was really, really cool. But like in terms of doing it in the community, like I kind of with my college friends, I forced them all to hang out with me once a month. We go to the college campus and we just sit there and eat bad food and encourage each other's projects and help each other with our projects. So that was kind of like peer mentoring. Like your mentor doesn't have to be someone that has more skills than you. It just has to be someone who can help you further your skill set. It's just hand holding your way across the finish line.
Yeah. And I don't think it matters where you are in your career. A mentor will always help,
Oh
like
yeah.
as a sounding board, as, you know, someone that can relate or just like push you to think about things a little bit differently. It's easy to kind of get locked in, especially in creative industries. So you just need someone to kind of like push you off to the left or right, or get you to think about things a little differently. So you can kind of keep on growing. Otherwise, you stay stagnant and it's no fun.
Thank you. Alim, you have another question.
Yeah, as I'm listening, I deal out the questions. I hope you don't mind. I just want to clarify for myself. So we're talking about the back end, meaning coding and things like that, which we do have clients like on the spectrum that would be very good for that. But also on the front end, are we also looking for like content creators and communication specialists and people that want to get into that kind of work? Is that also a potential for Relish or in Relish that we can kind of look at?
Yeah, so like anything in those spaces like copywriting, social media, like I said, video is very popular and something that's in demand. Yeah, we're kind of growing a lot in that space. So
Perfect.
yeah, any of those digital spaces like digital
Yeah.
marketing, those are also in
This
demand.
this really excites me because we do help a lot of people that
Mhm.
come, like you had mentioned, right on the nail on the head. I think you or your colleague had mentioned that you have clients that are very good at computers but don't have the paperwork to back them up because they just haven't been able to follow the school system. But they've
Yeah,
been really, really good at the actual
yeah.
practical work. You put them in front of a computer and they'll just sit there trying to sort that thing out for you. And so it's very good to know that you have that end. And then also people that are on the creative side in terms of wanting to market and do marketing and things like that, but need a break and need somebody to like see the value in them and have that opportunity. So thank you very much for that and the clarification.
Mhm. Thank you. Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone coming together today for our industry information session. Thank you, Suzanne, and to Katherine for sharing your insights and your stories. And thank you for joining us as an employer partner with Mentorability, which means that people can reach out to myself to be able to connect with people at Relish to have a conversation to find out some more if that is something that you're interested in. I will be sending a feedback survey with a big thank you and some highlights from today. I will also send Katherine and Suzanne's contact information, if that's all right with them, and the website for Relish too, so that you can check out the amazing work that they're doing. If there's any questions that come up afterwards, feel free to email me as well. So thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your day.
Hey, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.